Hello guys, welcome to yet another wonderful session of learning with Prepclass. My name is Tutor Olalekon Israel, your Prepclass English tutor, and I am super excited to have you join me in today's session of learning. Now in today's session, we will be answering question 26 to question 30 from the Jamb English 2017 past question. Remember, the purpose of this session is to help you prepare for your forthcoming Jamb examination. So, without wasting much time, please take a moment to subscribe to this channel, turn on the post notification so you can be notified whenever we upload any new content. Alright, let's roll. For question 26 to 30, we have an instruction here. The instruction reads, in each of the questions 26 to 30, choose the most appropriate option opposite in meaning to the word in bold. In each of the questions 26 to 30, choose the most appropriate option opposite in meaning to the word or words in bold. Question 26 reads, unless we see the evils clearly, contending against them is like fighting the air. Unless we see the evils clearly, contending against them is like fighting the air. Contending against is the phrase here in bold. Now, option A, avoiding. Option B, struggling with. Option C, combating. Option D, repelling. So which of these options is the opposite in meaning to contending against? Now, to contend against means to fight. It means to fight or compete against someone or something. Unless we see the evils clearly. Unless we see the evils clearly, contending against, that is fighting against them, is like fighting the thin air. Because if you cannot see what you are fighting, it's like fighting the air. So unless we see the evils clearly, contending against, fighting against, or competing against them is like fighting the air. So which option is the opposite in meaning to contending against? Now, if you are not contending against someone or something, if you are not fighting someone or something, you are avoiding them, you are abandoning them, you are leaving them. Now, other opposites of contend with include leave, give up. If you are not contending, you are leaving, you are giving up on it. You yield, you go along, comply, make peace, abandon, agree, desert, retreat, hide, surrender, give in. All of these are other antonyms of contend with. So if you're not contending against someone, you are avoiding them. Someone wants to fight you. You are not contending with them, you are not fighting with them, you are avoiding them, you are leaving them, you are abandoning them. It is not struggling with. Because struggling with means fighting with, contending with. This is a synonym for contending against. It is not combating, because combating means to fight, to battle. This is another synonym for contending against. It is not repelling, because when you repel, you fight off. You fight off. But when you are contending against, you are fighting, competing against. But when you are not contending against something, you are avoiding them. This is the opposite in meaning to contending against. Avoiding. So the answer is option A. Unless we see the evils clearly, contending against them is like fighting the thin air, fighting the air. If you cannot see what you want to fight, it is going to be difficult to fight them. Also, if you cannot see what you want to fight, it is difficult for you to avoid them because you can actually bump into them because you can't see them. So unless we see the evils clearly, contending against them is like fighting the air. The opposite in meaning to contending against is avoiding. You can only avoid what you see clearly. Unless you see the evils clearly, avoiding them is like fighting the air. If you cannot see what you want to avoid, how do you want to avoid it? Alright, moving on to the next question, question 27. The governor declined to give audience to the journalist. We have to select the option that is the opposite in meaning to the word in bold. The word in bold here is declined. The governor declined to give audience to the journalist. A, ignored. B, accepted. C, forgot. D, rejected. So, which of these options is the opposite in meaning to decline? To decline means to politely refuse an invitation or offer, to turn down or to refuse. The governor refused to give audience to the journalist. He declined. It is not ignored. Ignored means to disregard, to snub, or to brush aside. Accepted means to take up with approval, to welcome, to agree. Forgot means to fail to remember, to neglect. Rejected means to refuse, to turn down. Now, the opposite in meaning to decline is accepted. If you do not decline, you are accepting. Because if you decline, you refuse. But if you do not refuse, you accept, you agree. So accepted means to take up with approval, to welcome, to agree. The governor agreed, the governor accepted to give audience to the journalist. The opposite in meaning to decline is option B, accepted. Alright, moving on to the next question, question 28. Question 28 reads, Mr. Jack was not flexible in his instructions. Mr. Jack was not flexible in his instructions. So we have to select the option that is the opposite in meaning to the word in bold. The word in bold here is flexible. Option A, rigid. Option B, correct. Option C, stiff. Option D, upright. So which of these is the opposite in meaning to flexible? What does the word flexible mean? Now, flexible means possessing the ability to change easily. It can change easily. Adaptable, to be adaptable. Adjustable, you can be adjusted. Open-minded, you can be convinced to do what you did not actually believe in. You are flexible, you are open-minded. You can change easily, you can adapt, you can adjust. Now, rigid means to be difficult to change, to be inflexible, to be firm. So the answer is rigid. Flexible means possessing the ability to change easily. Rigid means to be difficult to change. Flexible means to be adaptable, to be adjustable, to be open-minded. Rigid means to be inflexible. Rigid means to be inflexible, to be firm. Now, it is not correct. Because correct means to be free from error, to be accurate. It is not stiff. Stiff means to be uneasy to bend or change. It is not upright. Upright means to be honorable, to be upstanding, to be reputable. Now, it is not stiff, although stiff means to be uneasy to bend or change. But in this context of use, stiff is not the opposite in meaning to flexible. Now, flexible means possessing the ability to change easily. Rigid means to be difficult to change. So, stiff is not appropriate to use with this context. Rigid is the appropriate opposite in meaning to flexible. Rigid means was to be inflexible. So, the answer to this question is option A, rigid. Alright, moving on to the next question, question 29. Remember, we had to select the option that is the opposite in meaning to the word in bold. Question 29 reads, Our governor is making determined efforts to eradicate illiteracy. Our governor is making determined efforts to eradicate illiteracy. The word in bold here is determined. So which option is the opposite in meaning to determined? Option A, compulsory. Option B, ineffective. Option C, innocent. Option D, unreliable. So, which of these options is the opposite in meaning to determined? If you are determined to do something, you have made a firm decision to do it, and will not let anything stop you. You will make sure you achieve it. Now, the opposite of determined is not compulsory. Compulsory means to be mandatory, essential, important. Ineffective means not producing any significant or desired effect, unsuccessful, unproductive. It is not innocent. Innocent means to be guiltless, to be blameless. It is not unreliable, because unreliable means to be undependable, untrustworthy. The opposite in meaning to determined here is ineffective. If you are determined, what you will produce results. When you make determined efforts, you will get results. But if it's an ineffective effort, it will not produce any significant or desired effect, any significant or desired result. It will be unsuccessful and unproductive. But when you are making determined efforts, what? It will come to pass. It will come to fruition. It will produce significant results. But something that is ineffective will not produce any significant or desired result or effect. So the opposite in meaning to determine is ineffective. Alright, moving on to the next question, question 30. Remember, we had to select the option that is the opposite in meaning to the word in bold. The word in bold here is mindless. Question 30 reads, Wilfred was a mindless criminal. Wilfred was a mindless criminal. A, strong. B, mindful. C, feeling. D, memorable. So which of these options is the opposite in meaning to mindless? Now, To be mindless means to be stupid. Acting without thinking, to be idiotic. Maybe Wilfred went to steal in the mall and he went there without a disguise. Now, that is mindless. It is stupid. To be mindless means to be stupid. Acting without thinking, to be idiotic. Now, the opposite of mindless is not strong. Strong means to possess strength, to be powerful. Now, mindful means to be cautious of what you are doing, to be thoughtful. You always think before you do anything. You are cautious of whatever thing you want to do. Now, it is not feeling. Feeling is an emotional state or reaction. Now, it is not memorable because memorable means to be unforgettable, to be special. Mindless means to be stupid. You act without thinking. Mindful means to be cautious of what you are doing, to be thoughtful, always thinking before carrying out any action. So, the opposite in meaning to mindless is mindful. Right. And with that, we've come to the end of this wonderful session. Please do not forget to subscribe to this channel. If you enjoyed this video, click on the like button. Do not forget to drop your questions in the comment section. Also join us on WhatsApp. Check for the link to our WhatsApp group in the description of this video. Thank you for your time. Enjoy the rest of your day.